to the top. Hey, tick, tick, tick to the top. Hey guys, how are you doing? It's been 3 weeks. We miss you guys. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We are on, I believe, 5 different platforms tonight. We are on our family page on Facebook. We're on my personal page on Facebook. And then we're also on TikTok, and we're on Q's personal page. And we're also on our YouTube family page. So we're on a bunch of pages. Tonight's topic is juicy. What's tonight's topic about?
Why people get married.
Why people get married. So it is on the screen. When you come in, make sure you say hello, say hello, say hello. So tonight's topic is about marriage, truth, reality, emotional connections, and the journey. So we're going to discuss that. So can you build, I have a question before we get started. Can you be building with somebody, talk about marriage every day, and still feel like you're unsure?
You asking me or you asking the people?
Both. People, you, everybody.
Because I knew that question was coming, so I thought maybe you was presenting it to the people. But yeah, especially when you see signs of certain things that pop up out the blue.
Okay. Well, so we're not married yet. Q and I, we're not even engaged, but we are having real conversations every day about being married, right? Right. So before we get started, this is gonna be juicy. I am going to tell you my story. Q's gonna tell you his story, and then we're gonna go into a prayer. Q's gonna pray per usual, and then we'll get started. Okay? All right. So you know my story. I've been married before. I've been divorced before. I'm a mom of 5. I have 2 grand twins, and I'm currently now in a relationship with Q. Q, what's your story?
I'm just a regular guy. That's it. A good guy, man. That's it. A regular guy. Only thing that might you want to know is 18 years in incarceration. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the bottom line. I'm a good guy, man.
Yeah. So he did 18 years in prison.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy.
He did 18 years in prison, and he will be a year out as of March 28th.
Yeah.
March 28th. So Q is hard. He's hard. But anyway, let's get into prayer. Let's get into prayer, and then we'll get down to
the... Lord, you need to help her now. She's throwing a shot, and we ain't talking about praise. She need that, Lord, to forgive me. That little Scott she throwing.
Somebody say hello.
What's up, Jay? That little bro. What's up, Scott? Yeah, but
we're going to say a prayer real quick?
Yeah,
always. Right, let's go.
Father, we bless your name because you're great, you're awesome, you're wonderful, Lord, and you're mighty. There's nobody like you. You sit up high and you look down low. Father God, we just thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your love, and your kindness. We ask, Lord God, that you would bless, Lord God, this time of fellowship, Lord, and we just ask, Lord God, to glorify you. Help us, Lord God, to edify, Lord God, and build up continually, Lord God, people that hear and just open up minds from new and different perspectives. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen.
Amen, amen, amen. So, guys, when you come on in, share this live, because this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. Why do you think people really get married? So that's the topic, and we're going to talk all around that and get into it. Okay? All right. So, Q. So the first question that I had was, can people feel lonely in their relationship?
Yeah. I've heard that people feel lonely in relationships. So I believe that it's a truth to that. You know, you can be with somebody and when a person ain't showing you the attention or giving you the time that you desire, then you might seem like there's a moment or a season of isolation.
Okay. So how do you feel about
You said what, man?
So you want me to get to the point where I spoke about, you being hard? Are you okay with that?
No. We
okay. Okay. All right. So the first question that I have for tonight is, why do people really get married? You want to go first?
I want you to go first. I think, me personally, I think people get married for the simple fact that most individuals, especially women, women grow up with this idea from a little girl of what this grandiose type of wedding and thing is supposed to look like. Adults, after they've been through a season of courting, dating, and want to settle down, most people just want to find some type of security in a relationship and share and explore life with somebody that they feel like they can love forever. Then you have a group of people that do it just to get it off the bucket list. Because if you look at a few years ago, marriage was a fad. You looked up, everybody was getting married just for the sake of they're married. So it
They
all
like the
depends.
glitz and the glam and the
You,
big
you see,
weddings.
you see people have these grandiose type weddings, and it's so extravagant and elaborate. Then you look up 2-3 years from there, they're not married no more.
Mm.
So people get married for many different reasons. Some Christians, they get married just so they can have sex, especially when they're brought up under a banner. They don't want to fornicate. They don't want their conscience to be
You think
guilty.
that's the only reason?
Some people, it's some people married, especially when you deal with different denominations and you get these different religious groups. In order to satisfy your flesh, they don't want to do anything outside of wedlock, so they're pressured into actually joining this union. But it's not a heartfelt situation; it's a fleshly appetite that's trying to be satisfied.
Mm. Well, I think people get married because of the idea. When we're kids, we think about the big wedding, the beautiful rings, and just having a title to say, my husband, my husband. But they don't really understand the responsibilities, the sacrifice, the daily work that you have to put into that marriage and to maintain that relationship. It is not that easy as you think. I mean, I've been married before. Q haven't been married before. I have 5 kids. Q has none. So going to marriage looks different to me versus him, and that's why we have to be intentional every day because we're not married yet, right? So we have to be intentional and make sure we discuss this thing before we put our all into it because I'm not doing this again. How do you feel about that?
I just try not to act too fast. Even me being with you now, most people might think moving too fast, but I know that marriage is a thing that the way I view it, it's a thing not only people see, but it's also something that got to be honored before God, because marriage is a God thing. That's who ordained marriage. The Bible says that for this reason shall a man leave his mother and father and become one flesh with his wife. The two shall become one. So it's really a picture of us portraying the oneness of God and who He is and what it really means to have this intimacy and this relationship. So I think it's a serious thing because when you're married, you're saying I'm locked in. I'm not entertaining anything else. I found my soulmate. I found my everything.
Right.
And then you taking a vow. When you hear certain words like "to death do us part," for six words, these are actually vows that are actually being rehearsed or said not only before people but ultimately before God. And you want God to be able to bless that union. You know what I'm saying? To strengthen that union. The Bible talks about a threefold cord is not easily broken unless the Lord build a house, he that labor in vain. So when you're looking at it from all these different perspectives, it really ain't about people. It's like where y'all at before God, because if God ain't in it, it just ain't gonna be blessed.
Yeah. So marriage is not a fairy tale, right? It's a real life decision.
It's a real thing. Ain't no doubt about it. It's a real thing, depending on the individuals.
Right. So is marriage still worth it today, you think?
It all depends on what a person's looking for in a relationship. Me having a biblical worldview, it's the essence of what we are created to do. But most people don't know their position in the marriage. That's where the problem comes in at. Sometimes you can think that you know a person, but then when you get a year or two in the marriage, that person that you thought that you knew no longer exists. You start seeing different faces. You start seeing different characteristics that you had not seen because there's a sense of, well, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, people don't do the same thing they used to do when you thought that you fell in love with this person. Things, fires begin to dwindle out. And
so what do you do? What do you do in that situation?
Well, you're supposed to work on it, and you're supposed to be able to have a conversation. It starts off with a conversation, being able to communicate and things of that nature. However, even though you communicate and you articulate how you feel emotionally, does not necessarily mean that what you've communicated has been received in order to progress or to move further or to rekindle. So it's very complex. Marriage is a complex thing. You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful thing. It can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
though.
but complex don't, it doesn't alleviate beautiful. Man, you have to, in marriage, you have to continue to try every day. You have to choose that person every day. You know what I'm saying? You have to wake up and choose that person every day. And in some marriages, not saying that you want to choose someone else, but sometimes you don't want to choose that person because that's not the person that you want to deal with today, based on whatever the situation is as far as conflict. Because we're not going to play like all marriages are healthy and good, because you have trying moments, and it's some of those moments that if you're not hunkered down, you don't have your anchor set, then sometimes you have some people walk away and just say they can't do it if it continues to perpetuate itself.
Okay. So I believe marriage is something that I want to work towards, and I'm very intentional with that. But only if both people are healed, right? Or working on it at least, and willing to heal and willing to compromise. If you're going into a broken situation and you're broken, expecting someone to fix you, it's never going to work. That's my take on that with marriage. But I'm definitely intentional with it and expect to be that way.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that people have to be healed in order to get married?
Not healed, but working on it for themselves. Like if I'm going into marriage hoping that the man I'm marrying is going to heal me, um, I'm never going to be happy. Right. You got to be happy within yourself first before you make that decision and say, I'm going to be with someone, or, make that big step. It's a big step to be married. A lot comes with that. What's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. And even when I don't like you today, I still have to choose you first. And that's how I feel about it. How do you feel about that?
That's a great point.
Okay.
Marriage is a union, but it's sacrificial. It's a giving of oneself in totality.
Mm-hmm.
And even when there's trying times, you still have to be willing to sacrifice your emotional side to make sure that that person is benefiting and taken care of, even when you don't want to do that because of whatever disagreement has transpired. But however, I think at certain times, depending on what type of trauma or brokenness a person has been in, sometimes people do have to wait till they get over certain hurdles before they get married.
Mm.
Then there's sometimes where a person gets into a situation and that partner leads them to healing. So it depends on, it's multifaceted. It depends on what type of trauma has transpired in a person's life, because you got some people that they shouldn't even try to get married because of what they've been through.
Really?
Absolutely, because some of the things that they've been through, anytime they see any type of character trait that may resemble their past, you embarking on this attitude or this overly emotional individual because they still dealing with wounds and scars.
And that's why they need to heal from that.
And that's
before jumping into that type of situation.
Right. And that's why I said some people have to work on self before they ever even thinking about being married. This is one of the most important things. A person should be the type of person that they're willing to marry.
Right. 100%.
If you're looking for this perfect person, this selfless person, this person that's willing to sacrifice, then you have to be the epitome of that.
Right.
So, that's my take.
You are what you attract, right? You are what you attract. Marriage doesn't fix you. It exposes you, I think. Because when you marry somebody, you see everything. You see every side of that person. You're exposed. So my next question is going to be, can you feel lonely in a relationship?
Yeah, I think that was one of the first questions where somebody asked, can you build with somebody talking about marriage
and just still feeling sure? Yeah.
That's kind of, a remake of that question. Absolutely, you can feel married. You can feel lonely in a relationship, but it's because it's a certain part of you that's not being satisfied or nurtured. So absolutely, you can definitely feel lonely in a relationship. That's a no-brainer.
Yes, and it's real that you can feel lonely in a relationship. I could lay right next to somebody and still feel completely alone if there's an emotional disconnect, or if there's no communication, no intimacy, and you don't know that person on a deeper level. You could definitely feel lonely.
So let me ask you this question:
Hmm.
what is that knowing? What is that knowing on a deeper level? What does that mean, and what does that look like?
We have to have some type of connection outside of intimacy. Whether it's we learn the Bible together, we study the Bible together, or you know um, we communicate in a different way from you normally would. So, like being my best friend, where I can talk to you about anything. I know everything going on with you by the way you look. I know something's going on, or how you're feeling. We should have that deeper connection to where we always fulfill that need in that person. And some people don't connect in that way. So, for example, some people like to just be distant and don't want to be bothered at that moment. But there should be a safe space where I'm fulfilling that person's need and they're fulfilling mine. You have to learn your person and know what they need in order for it to work, and compromise.
Mm, okay, I just wanted to hear your perspective. I don't think I never asked you what that looks like to you. To me, I really don't have a way to articulate what that looks like. I believe that a person, sometimes you can be in a situation where you just have this discernment that this person is your person. Most people might say you gotta wait 5 years. Some people get married within a year because they know that this is their person. And if you're doing it the right way, the righteous way, you'll be led. You're prayerful about it, because that's one of the most important things, being prayerful about it.
Mm-hmm.
But a man does have to find a wife according to the Bible. The Bible says if a man finds a wife, so there is a seeking. There's a trying to study this person, trying to, because everybody's not wife material and everybody's not husband material. It's just that's just what it is, because that's a ministry.
And a lot of people don't know how to be a wife, and a lot of people don't know how to be a husband.
And before you get married, you should already be exemplifying that. That's where the problem comes in. Some people get married and then try to perform in being a husband or being a wife. But you should already be moving like a husband. You should already be moving like a wife before that union even transpire. That's why me and the guys, we can sit back and see a woman of elegance and see how she moves, how she converses, how she's not flirtatious, how she don't, bat an eye and smile at every compliment. You can say, man, she wifey material, because when she moving around in society and certain things, are trying to pull on her or allure her, she got this persona about herself as, hey man, I'm not on that.
Right.
My appetite is a little bit too rich for what you offering. Right. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you have many women that desire to be married. You have many men that desire to be married, and they don't already move like husbands. They don't already move like wives. Wow. And that's where the problem comes in at, because when you join this union, now you're trying to be what you say that you are, and you really don't have those qualities. And so now the marriage within itself is insufficient of the person that this other person thought that they were unionizing with.
Yeah, it's a team effort. Just like you said before, that you gotta give off what you want. Like, I can't expect for a man to come into my life and just take care of me, and I'm not his piece, and I'm not doing what he needs to. It's a team effort. You know what I mean? Do you agree with that?
Yes. It's definitely a partnership. It's a lifelong partnership. You got people that marry for all type of different reasons. When you look at some of the wealthy people in the world, and I'm not saying that they are the examples or the posters for what people should look at, but people marry for different reasons. You have people married for the sake of business transactions, or it's beneficial financially. You know what I'm saying? You get money, I'm getting money. You got all this type of assets. I have all these type of assets. Together we'll be a juggernaut. And we'll learn to love each other. Then you have some people that get married because they're overly infatuated, and they're putting it under the umbrella of love. And then once the infatuation subsides, Now all of a sudden, they don't want to be in this union. But from the outside looking in, we thought y'all was happy or meant for each other because there was an overly infatuation. So one thing we also need to know is that love don't keep you married.
Very much so.
A lot of people think, well, I thought they loved each other because they see a divorce transpire. But love don't keep you married. Love keep you willing to try to stay married. But love does not keep you married. You have to want to be there. You have to want to be in that person's space. You have to want to continue to build that person, even when it's raining in whoever's life, and you're seeing the effects of what the storm is producing, because you ain't gonna always get 100% that person. Right. That person might only got 20% to give because life has been beating them down, or there's certain things that's transpiring in their thought process that actually says, I just don't feel like I'm where I need to be at in life. And Joe's little things is what kind of disrupts a union, no matter what type of encouragement the spouse may be giving. You can have a spouse giving you all the encouragement in the world, but when you're battling with self, you having an inward conflict is bleeding over to your present relationship, and it can begin to build barriers and create distance, and before you know it, it ruptures the relationship.
Wow. So my understanding, when I feel, or if I feel lonely in a relationship, I just feel like presence is not the same as a connection. Someone can sleep in your bed and you could feel lonely. If you don't have a deep connection with that person, you could feel that way. So that's my answer for that question. So the next question we have is, can you build towards marriage without being married? And you kind of expressed
that. Yeah, absolutely. You can build towards marriage without being married. It's about being intentional, knowing what you want, understanding your desires, understand, what you want in a person, certain things that you want accept from a person. It's easy to know. That's why I think purpose is so important, because when you know what your purpose is and what you're called to do, and what road you're traveling for your destiny, if this person don't align, then you already know that's not my person.
Right. So we talk about marriage every day, every single day. And we learn each other every single day. It's a daily thing for us. It's different when you've been through stuff before. So I treat this like it's my baby. You have a baby, you're very careful. You try to stay, don't say things like you used to say. Treat that man like your baby, and nurture him just like you want him to nurture you. That's how I feel about it. So definitely, for sure, you want to be intentional and go towards marriage with intention.
Yeah. When you gotta also remember, man, you got two people that are not coming from necessarily from the same background.
Right.
They don't experience the same walk in life. She been married, she been divorced, she has 5 children. I've been raising myself. I've been in prison for 18 years, and you trying to bring two worlds together.
Different worlds.
And your parenting may have been different than the other person's parenting. This person may have seen a healthy relationship. This person may have seen a dysfunctional relationship. And so it forms the ideology in which the lenses that you look at what a marriage is supposed to be. Sometimes we have to remove what we thought a perfect marriage is supposed to be, because that's what puts the stronghold in your mind and have you looking through everything through this particular type of tunnel. And if it does not line up with this particular type of tunnel, you think automatically it ain't good because of the traditional way of what we thought marriage was.
Okay. So talking about marriage is easy, but preparing for it is different. You can say, oh, hey, I want to be married. I want this type of marriage. But actually preparing for it and planning for it is totally different, because we got to make sure we mesh, right? Like, you can't just jump into the thing. You can't. So what does waiting until marriage, or how does waiting until marriage affect the relationship?
Really, it can strengthen the relationship. If you just satisfying your sexual appetite, then let that be known. You satisfying your sexual appetite, because you have more people that have deeper relationships without having any type of physical connection, because they're stimulating the mind. They're knowing if this person can feed them intellectually. They're able to unveil this person just by simply communicating. And that's what draw a lot of men and women in without actually having that intercourse or that intimacy. Because intimacy don't always mean sexual relationship.
Right.
Intimacy can also mean you telling me some of your deepest thoughts, some of the things that hurt you. You're trusting me with certain information from your past, and I'm cherishing that. I'm taking that, and I'm trying to help you, whether it was trauma or whether it was good moments. You're still allowing this person into your life and a part of your history. So, absolutely, man. It's marriage is a beautiful thing, but you have to be willing to be married and take the journey in what accompanies marriage itself.
I think marriage is a beautiful thing, but I also think waiting till marriage sometimes can feel lonely at times, as far as intimacy goes, because you're used to a certain, feeling way, especially when you crave that closeness. But it also builds discipline, and you can focus on the emotional connection instead of the physical too.
Because I think if you wait until marriage, it actually helps a person.
Discipline.
Yeah, discipline, because you know that once you do become married, if this person held out for a year, 2 years, or however long, for some people they might say that's bizarre. Who's holding out for 2 years of sex? You know what I'm saying? Especially when you've been exposed to it. But when you got your body into subjection and you have it, and you're moving in a militant mind or a disciplined mind, whatever you want to call it, it also assures that person that when you do come together, it shouldn't be no infidelity. You know what I'm saying? Because this person waited on you for this long. Why would they risk everything for a moment of gratification? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
I
so
don't know if I agree with that. People want to cheat if they want to cheat. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, but it goes back to discipline. Most people cheat and get into sexual relationships with other people, or all this infidelity transpires because they don't have discipline. So if a person can be disciplined, it already set some type of parameter that you can trust this person. Well, you should be able to trust that person so that they won't fall into that trap.
Is it easier for you though because you have had to deal with that type of environment where you didn't have to do anything for 18 years? It's probably easier for you because
You think it's easier, but there's a lot of dudes that can chime in. That's been locked up, man. You shoot. We use our imagination in prison. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have discipline to not touch yourself and do these things, you have to be willing to and committed to your process and understand. I'm just saying on that. I'm gonna find a way to occupy my time, keep my mind off those things. And then after a while, certain it's just certain appetites got to be snuffed out. I don't want to get too vulgar or draw these pictures, but it's just certain appetites have to be snuffed out. When you look at intimacy with your wife, it's a ministry. It's a ministry. You're learning this person's body. You're learning what makes this person tick, and her body responds to you in a particular way because you took the time to navigate, to search out, and to really understand how this person speaks without being vocal, how this person's body speaks without being vocal, how it responds to the baritone in your your voice, a particular type of touch, a gaze in your eyes. You're learning that person on that. That's intimacy. That's union. So if a person can wait until marriage, which is one of the best things to do, because if you already been smashing before marriage, then the only thing you're doing is saying, I'm just really, finna build with this person. I love this person, but you don't get to solidify that marriage the proper way.
okay. So I feel if there's no connection with sex, then there's no foundation, right?
I disagree. You say if there's no
Without sex.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
okay, yeah, because
But the new norm, Q, before we gotta speak about the majority. People are trying before, being intimate before they actually get married. It's just
that's just what the culture say.
Right.
That's what the coaches say, and I understand that being in a mindset that ain't been renewed. I understand that's what people do. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't satisfy this person sexually, then you already gonna scratch them off your list, and you don't even know that could have been the person that was gonna give you everything that God designed for you to have. You know what I'm saying? But just because that in the beginning, because there's a chemistry that takes place when you're being sexually active with an individual. And like I said, you're taking your time to learn this person. There's a chemistry that involved. You might have good sex, but that don't mean that this person really knows how this other person physical anatomy responds to however that person is in that particular space. So saying that what the world doing, what the culture doing, because they not waiting. And if it ain't there, cause I've heard it. I've seen TV shows say, well, before I marry him, or before I want to see what he like in bed, or I want to see what she like in bed.
But
you know what I'm saying? But that's shallow.
Sometimes they could be good in bed, and that's all they good for.
So that's why. Because here's the bottom line: when you get 60 and you get 70 years old, and you ain't doing that no more.
You ain't doing that no more, 60 or 70?
You got some people that you got some people that you got grandmothers and grandpas. They still mad. They probably love on each other because this person life partner. Remember the one time we went to it might have been Longhorn, one of these restaurants. We seen these two old couples just walking. They look like they about in their 80s, and they together. You know what I'm saying? Because they love each other's space. They growing together. They growing old together. That's why that oneness, it's a real thing, because you got some people when the old man died, a month or two later, the old lady died. I lost my partner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We really became one, and that grief is so overwhelming because of the love. They like, I don't even want to live life without this person no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's not every case, but there are cases that has happened. That's why you got to be able to really love this person outside of that, and that's just the cherry on top, because it's momentary. You know what I'm saying? It's just a physical thing.
So I have another question. What's the real benefit to being married?
Well, the real benefit of being married is having a lifelong partner, somebody that you can trust, somebody that you're willing to die for. If you're not willing to die for that person, ain't no need to be married. If you're not willing to put your life on the line for that individual, there's no need to be married. That sums it up. But there's so many benefits, because you have somebody that you can trust with your feelings. You have somebody that you can trust with your dreams. You have somebody that you should be able to trust with your finances. You have somebody that you can be able to evolve with, come together with a plan with, and leave a legacy and a landmark in the earth, even when you're dead and gone. Because you should, when you marry a person, your marriage should speak so profoundly that when both of you all have deceased and your time has expired here on earth, you should be an example that somebody in your family has said, I want to love so and so like so and so loves so and so. When you move like that, you left a mark, and you showed people it wasn't a perfect relationship,
right?
But it was a healthy relationship.
So I think the benefits of marriage are it's going to be like emotional safety for me, support, building a lifelong partner instead of just doing everything alone. When you're used to being alone and doing everything alone, or having a partner and still feeling like you're alone, when you do it right, it's peace. It's no pressure. It's just right.
What's your definition of emotional safety?
Being able to be vulnerable around you, being able to talk to you without being judged, or you just being a listening ear and going through things with me. Whatever it is, whether it's grief or it's I just want to yell today about something, or I just want to cry because I'm still grieving, things like that. Just being there for me emotionally in every aspect, dealing with kids, work, life. There's always gonna be something. Like I said, you should be my best friend. I should be able to talk to you about everything. and my emotions should be able to be thrown onto you, and you should be able to catch it and never let me down.
I just want to hear your definition. I just want to hear.
So what you have to say about that?
Well, you know, what?
Go ahead.
I'm,
You got to pay attention to what you're answering.
Because I really don't want to answer it, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Especially on live. You know, but at the end of the day,
if you don't
that's why
answer,
growth. That's why growth. That's why growth is important. And it takes time because every action got a reaction.
Right.
And when a person is throwing things on you, they're giving you things that is affecting them. Sure, you want to be that person's stability. You want to be that. You want to be there for that person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sometimes that everybody don't know how to handle your pain. Everybody might not know how to handle it. So a lot of times people are there, or people can be there to be able to absorb it.
Just to listen to you
Right,
sometimes.
right. But then sometimes people want counsel, and you don't actually have the words to articulate how that person is feeling. I always looked at it like this, especially when you're dealing with hurt. Now, there's different type of things that affect. When a person has walls, not necessarily you, just talking about in general.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people want people in their life to break down those walls, but a lot of times it's not that other person's job to do that. It may be that person's job to help you go into this demolition room and break those walls down yourself and root you on while you're breaking them down.
Mm-hmm.
Because in essence, if you're the one who erected them, then you got to be the one to remove them. And all that person should do is be there to cheer you on. You got these TV shows where people get angry. They put on these safety clothes. They go in there and take the baseball bat, beat the TV, bust the table. You have to exude that energy. You have to release that and go through your own journey in that. I had to look at it from a state of point. Even when I was incarcerated, I had to go through things in my own mind and go all the way back to my childhood to find out where the entry point was that affected me to where I am as a man today. And sometimes, man, it be things that affected us from our childhood that are playing out in our adulthood, and it's causing friction, and we wonder why. Because that thing in our childhood has never been addressed. Going back and saying, you know what, that was wrong. This happened to me. I forgive that person, or maybe I forgive that person, but I'll no longer put myself or subject myself to some of those things because they come in and they affect where you are today.
Okay.
And then a person might say, well, why did you respond when I said that? But you don't know that's a deep-seated trigger from their past.
Mm.
And so you might not, even though you're supposed to be able to throw that on your person, but your person might not be able to absorb that because of the weight of it.
So not so much of absorb it, but be there for me through it.
Right. And I think I just said those words, like, being able to go
in the demolition room. So you don't have to
and cheer you on,
absorb it.
Hoping that you can, overcome it.
So I know you haven't been married before, but what would be the hardest part about marriage for you?
To be honest with you, man, until you get very, very familiar with this person that you're saying that you're going to marry, actually giving your all of yourself to this person. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by giving all of yourself to this person is to the point that you're saying that, hey, all that I am is yours. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say that they do that, but they still keep a measure of themselves to themselves out of fear of being hurt, betrayed, let down, disappointed, etc. So, giving your all to that person
So that's hard. That's you think the hardest part?
Especially when you've been by yourself so long.
Mm.
It's hard to trust somebody else with you.
Okay. Okay.
You got to understand, if you've been by yourself and you've been fending for yourself, you've been trying to figure this thing out outside of the help of God or whoever God placed in your life for this season or that season.
Right.
You've been solo for so long. It's hard to trust somebody else with all of you.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. So one of the hardest things for me, because I have been married before, is going to be like communication and emotional triggers. And we've had conversations about that, or even just learning how to respond instead of reacting. It's because you said something that my past said, and that's an emotional trigger for me. So now I'm going to react. So instead of reacting, I respond now in a different way, or I just stay quiet because this isn't my past. This is my future. This is my present, right? So sometimes you have to take a step back and allow them to not mess up per se, but let them know that that's my trigger. That's a trigger for me. And sometimes we have to have that conversation. Even when you don't feel like it, you don't want to, that's loving somebody through it all, even when you don't feel like it. Any more on that topic?
No,
good. Okay. So do people get married for the wrong reasons?
Yeah. They go back to the beginning of the conversation. Some people just get married just to get married so they can have the experience. Or sometimes, depending on who you marry, sometimes it's for a social status.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get married for one reason. Some people marry people just for financial security.
Right.
It's a lot of ways that people go into these unions with one another, and it's not pure. The intentions are not right, or there's a motive behind it that is not sincere.
What I realized too is marriage will test everything you thought you healed from. Everything. You think that doesn't bother me anymore, and you'll be in a situation with somebody and they'll give you that trigger and you're like, wait, I thought I healed from this. So sometimes you got to take a step back and just revisit it. But people marry for the wrong reasons a lot. So people do it for finances, like you said. A lot of people marry potential instead of reality, and that leads to a lot of disappointment. So I don't do the potential no more. It is what it is. You have to be real with me. I need everything. I want to know everything down to your dirty drawers, what it's about, before I set myself into a marriage. Agree?
No, that's your viewpoint.
And I said, do you agree? You don't agree?
Me personally, a lot of things that's before me, I want to be privy to. But a lot of things that were before me, it really don't concern me.
You want to be privy to?
I meant to say some things that are before me I want to be privy to, but a lot of things that are before me, it don't concern me. I'm trying to know you because you might not be who you was 10 years ago.
Right.
And so if it happened before me and you choose to divulge that, but somebody from the outside coming from the outside saying, well, back in the day, that ain't got nothing to do with me, man. You know what I'm saying? So I don't.
And we've experienced that.
Yeah, I don't feel no type of way about that. You know my favorite line. Somebody gonna marry somebody animal. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. You got dudes that know that she used to be this, or the girls know that this dude used to be this, and they got a past, but that don't necessarily define who they are, or those are the things that took that person to travel that journey to actually be who they are, better, stronger, wiser, in this particular season of their life. That's what molded them.
So is there a reset every time you're with somebody new? Is there a reset for that person's past? Is there anything from a person's past that you would want to know, or it doesn't matter?
It depends on the circumstance. I won't be naive enough to say,
nothing.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
It's because there's just some things that you ain't gonna go for according to your own preference.
But would you still hold that person accountable and say, hey, you did this, I don't want to do this anymore? Is there anything? Or you can't hold that account? You could feel a way about it.
It's a possibility. It depends on how deep you say you in love with that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you in love with that person, and my definition of being in love is not being able to see yourself without this person in your life. You know what I'm saying? And something from their past comes to the table that y'all might have not discussed. Will that be a deal breaker? If you're in love and you say that I can't see myself without you in my life, and something ugly from your past that was before me come up, that don't bother me.
Okay. Okay. What has social media done to marriages?
Some social media, some things social media have done to marriages is gave them a little wisdom, because all content on social media is not bad content. I won't sit up here and say that.
Okay.
But there is a lot of garbage on social media.
Right. They make things look better than what it really is.
Right, and they have false narratives. And when you have false narratives, then you're concealing truth. Let it be known for what it is. I ain't saying that you got to put all your business out there, because I don't believe in that. You know, it's just social media is a lot of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, social media has ruined some relationships. For the simple fact, people try to live a life with their partner to please other people, and you can't do that. Because most people say, "Well, how that's going to look if people think this or people think that?" You're already in a messed up situation.
Okay. As far as social media for me, I think it creates unrealistic expectations. They like everything is going to be amazing and grand because I spent $100,000 on this wedding. Our marriage is perfect and we can't have no wrong. And they look good together, so they should be together. That is all bull. People compare their real lives to someone else's highlight reels, and they don't realize the real life has nothing to do with that $100,000 wedding. And you know, like I said, a marriage will reveal everything and expose everything about that person and about your partner. So, any more questions on that? It's okay. Don't marry for a moment. I think you should marry for a lifetime. Do you agree with that?
That's what marriage is—a lifetime commitment to one another.
Yeah. And stop comparing your real life with people that you see in those reels and those TikToks and all of that, and Facebook reels and Instagram. It's not real. You know, and everybody's normal and happiness is not cookie cutter. And that's what I want to talk to you about too. You mentioned something about having roles in a relationship. Our role in our relationship can be different from another couple's role. You know what I mean? So I know you know biblical, and you think you know the man's supposed to do everything on the outside and the woman's supposed to do everything on the inside, but that's not everybody's role.
Right. I know different relationships. You know, that people do what work for them.
Right.
You know, but I ain't with. You know, I'm just and that I don't like a lot of traditional stuff, but all traditional things aren't bad. Mm-hmm. You got some women that don't mind a man staying home and, you know, taking care of the house while she gonna be the breadwinner. That just don't work for me. You know what I'm saying?
But some people, it's okay for some people.
That's their thing. You know, we can't speak on them. You know, but at the end of the day, I do believe that, you know, masculinity is also exemplified by taking on things that falls under the umbrella of what a man's supposed to do. Mm. It's like, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know how to fix on cars. Mm. But if the cars tear up or have malfunctions, I believe it's the man's job to get down to the solution. Well, he have to go find a mechanic and pay for it. Mm-hmm. That's that. But I believe that a woman's role is to make sure the house is homely. Now, it can be shared jointly. Don't get me wrong now. You know, I don't want y'all to jump all on there and say, well, hold on, you looking for this one bill house right now, this here. No. I'm not saying that. It can be done jointly. Men know how to cook, women know how to cook. But I do believe that women should cook and take care of the inside of the house in the sense of dealing with the children, but that's a joint job. I don't think my wife supposed to be sitting down here talking to a mechanic about the car being fixed or talking to a person about the lawn if she's married. Now, you got single women that do that, but that's a man's job to make sure everything, from my perspective, your perspective might be wrong, those that are watching, but to make sure the outside of the house is taken care of as well as the inside of the house. But when the man has already been exposed to the elements of outside that front door, he should be able to walk into his palace, and the queen has already been nurturing the home, saturating the home with her femininity and the things that she should have been doing as a woman. Now, with that, I'm old school. That's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? My granddaddy, he was great. Both of my granddaddy, great men. But Charlie Williams, I see my granddaddy go out there on that road, beat that road up, bring that money home. My grandma, she took care of things, you know what I'm saying? I liked the dynamic of that setup. That was the picture for me. But my grandma was a breadwinner too. My grandma was a breadwinner too, and still is. Great with finances, great with handling money. You could trust her with it. I believe I had a conversation with my grandfather. He said, "Man, I just go get the money, man, and bring it back to your grandma. Lord, I got my little necessities. I'm straight."
That's how my dad did.
And he didn't want for nothing. Now we know that over time, people and roles evolve. You know what I'm saying? And we get a little bit more privy to new information, business acumen, and all of this stuff. Being more acquainted with different ways of getting to the bag. But however, I do believe that a mother or woman is supposed to make sure the home, the inside of the home, the atmosphere of the home is saturated with nurturing and love, even though, quote me when I say this, even though it's a joint job.
I hear you.
It's a joint job. I'm just
so
explaining.
You knew I was going to get into
because most people, you look at these reels, they say what a Proverbs 30 woman is, those that have biblical worldviews. Well, they tell you what a Proverbs 31 woman is. She's industrious, but she know how to take care of that house before she deal with anything outside that door. If she want to be a businesswoman, she making sure her house is taken care of in order first. Because if she's going out there into the business world and she's interacting and accomplishing things there, and her home is not taken care of, then there's an imbalance. Not saying that she's a bad woman or whatever. It's just there's an imbalance. There must be a balance. There has to be an underlying balance.
Okay. So, do you think premarital counseling is important?
Absolutely, depending on who you go get your counseling from and what your view is, because everything I'm speaking on has a biblical worldview, and so I think because it's certain things that people with wisdom can ask that you may never ask in your life, but because they experience certain things, they'll ask certain questions that will get to the root of certain problems. Mm-hmm. And you can't get your counseling from everybody. Get counseling from people that have been married 3 to 4 decades and got the hat, the t-shirt, the coffee mug to say we've been through a tried and true marriage. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Most people get counseling from their homegirl or their homeboy that's only been married for 2 years. And because it's still fresh and it looks good and they're accomplishing things together, you're like, man, I like what they're doing, man. Let's go talk to them. But they marriage ain't been tried. Mm. It's still new. Get some decades under your belt. Wisdom speaks. And wisdom comes with those that have been in this thing for a long time. Because marriage is not an event. It's a ministry. It's a lifelong ministry.
So when it comes to marriage and lifelong and people that have been, sometimes people settle. So sometimes just because they've been married for 20 or 30 years don't mean that they got it all together. They know how to counsel too, because Date is just, some people they just settle for whatever
I don't think that they sell. I disagree with that. I think they compromise with one another. Because you ain't gonna be settling and just be stuck in something if you got any good sense for no 30, 40
A
years.
lot of them do.
But if you is, you built different, you weak, and I'm telling you that now, you just got up out that thing, and sometimes you got people. You know what? I agree with you. Honestly, I agree with you because I've seen it in Christian communities. Some people don't want to get divorced because they're indoctrinalized saying God hate divorce. God does hate divorce. However, they quote a scripture and say, what God put together, let no man put asunder. Basically saying, whatever union you got, don't let nobody destroy it.
Right.
But it's a lot of unions that people saying that God put them together and God ain't putting them together.
Mm-hmm.
Their desires and their flesh.
How do you discern that? How do you know?
Because one thing about it, God don't make no mistakes.
Okay.
He's perfect. So if God don't make no mistake, and this thing is definitely a mistake by way of all the mishaps that are transpiring in this union,
yeah,
you can, if you have discernment, you can look and see what's of God and what's not of God, what's good and what's bad, what's healthy and what's unhealthy. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, I agree to that. Some people do settle, but they settle for the sake of the wrong reason. They don't want to look like failures in their family. They don't want to look like failures in their community. They don't want to be talked about and say, oh, that they divorced.
Or starting over. I got to start over. I got kids with this man. You know, it could be a number of things. Priceless. But it is. But some people don't know how. Like, if, for example, you have real homemakers out there, people that just stay in the house, women that just stay in the house and don't know how to do anything else except for be a homemaker to her kids and her man, right? And then if I got to leave this man because he's cheating or he got something going on, how do I get out there in the world? How do I take care of my kids?
That's why
it happens all the time.
And that's why I believe that outside of marriage, mm-hmm. you should have a support group, people that hold you accountable, people that are able to nurture you and be straight up with you. Like I tell my partners, I love the guys that I deal with. Right. I don't like being around yes men. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
Right.
Iron sharpen iron. You know what I'm saying? If I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. Hold me accountable. Bro, you said you was gonna do this. You said you were gonna do that. That's the only way you can win. You know what I'm saying? That's in any type of relationship. You know what I'm saying? Have people that really love you, have your best interests, and willing to tell you, sus, you wrong. You ain't treating that man right, or you looking at it from the wrong way, or you even looking at it because of what you went through with dude, because we talk. You know what I'm saying? When you got people that's talking to you like that, them the people you need to cling to because they want to see you win. And sometimes it takes breaking the arm and setting it back in place and allowing it to be in a cast for so long so it can mend and heal properly. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, premarital counseling is good. And I just have never seen, just from my own personal experience and people that I've talked to, mm-hmm. I have never seen nobody just been in something for 20 and 30 and 40 years, because you barely hear people say they've been married for 30 years. But if you find somebody that is married for 30 years or 40 years, and they are out there, they are seniors, but they are out there. They have a lot of information and certain things that they may even admit that they would do over or do different if the opportunity was available. Mm-hmm. But wisdom is learned by making mistakes as well.
Right. So love is not enough. Understanding is required.
Say that again.
Love is not enough. Understanding is required. So I definitely think premarital counseling is something that needs to happen. I think you should have counseling while you're married. You know, that you should always have somebody, because there's certain things that I probably can't talk to you
right.
about.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm in total agreement, because you had made a statement and said you want to know everything. But I do want to know everything. But it's some things that, and we live in this world where a person say you're supposed to tell your wife everything. But if you know your wife, and if she's an overly emotional creature, you might can't just tell this woman some of the thoughts. Listen, fellas, it's good to keep your thoughts to yourself.
No, because
listen.
Don't let somebody else come and tell me. You better tell me.
But the problem is,
that's the problem.
No, I said your thoughts, not your actions. your thoughts.
Thoughts or actions?
No, they ain't. Thoughts leads to actions. But if you're talking to the right person, you can have a right person snap you up out of that thought. You know what I'm saying? Thoughts are not actions. That's incorrect. And that's every thought that comes to your mind don't generate from you.
I want to know everything and be honest.
And I understand that principle, but I'm talking about thoughts. And so when you're having these battles, these mental battles, that's why it's good to have a good support, a brotherhood, a sister, and girls do it all the time. You know, guys too, bro. You know what, bro, man? I've been going through it with so and so, man. Bro, I'm telling you, man. Sometimes, bro, I just want to leave. You know what I'm saying? And you got somebody that know your situation, seeing y'all union, being within the confines and the parameters of where y'all are. You like, man, you know you got too much invested. A person that could talk you back down off that tree. So you make a dumb mistake off of one little misunderstanding.
Right.
So you need that, but you can't go tell your wife at that moment or your spouse at that moment, man, I just feel like leaving. Because if the situation is still heated and depending on the characteristics of that person, well, leave then. And it just pushes you out there, and then pride rises up and won't nobody come back and apologize or say, you know what, babe, I was wrong, woo. But when you got that support system and you're able to talk to somebody and say, bro, am I tripping? Or bro, ain't nothing gonna be perfect. You got somebody that really wants your best interest and want you to win.
You still gotta be able to talk to your person.
But not necessarily at that moment.
But you don't want everybody in your business either, Q.
It ain't everybody. Well, okay. Well, since we talking, there have been times me and you had. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
No. Because I'm gonna be straight up. There have been times me and you had issues, and we might be in a heated disagreement. This ain't the right time for me to tell you exactly what's going on in my mind, because this can be injuries.
That's your mental?
It could be injuries. It could be injuries.
But you know what I realized? Even though you say that, and that's where you're at that moment, I'll never take it there with you. And I don't take it there with you. I try my best in any situation to make sure that you don't meet the old Jody. You don't want to meet the old Jody.
Right.
And you ain't never met her. And just like you said, I ain't never met the old Q. You ain't never met the old Jody. We should never take it there.
Because everybody, what I'm saying, that's why I'm trying to explain to you that it's not always good to say everything on your mind. The Bible, let's quote the Bible.
You don't have to.
And that's my point.
Just be respectful.
It's not. I'm just saying. And so if I'm not saying it, then I am being respectful, because it's not good to say everything that come to mind, and it's not always good to tell everybody your thoughts. And that's why I'm saying, fellas, keep some of your thoughts to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't speak.
I don't agree with that statement.
Well, let's say what the Bible said. The Bible said a fool speaks his whole mind. The Bible said, let God be true and every man a lie. So the bottom line is, a fool speaks everything that comes to his mind. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got to be cautious on what you say, because every action is what? A reaction. So you're an adult. You know what to say and what's right and what's wrong.
That's why I say in certain situations,
not to stay silent, but to just know how you respect the person that you're speaking to.
I think that sometimes it's just best for me to stay silent. I don't know about nobody else. I think it's best for sometimes.
We ain't gonna go
to stay silent. I can't.
But you don't stay silent though. That's the thing.
I do.
You don't stay silent.
Sometimes I stay silent. Then you say, "Man, you don't say nothing. You talking."
No,
yeah, for real.
That's very rare. You as a talker.
Yeah, I
ain't
no talker. Now you know what I do. Now
you flip out.
I don't move flip out, man. Stop flogging, man. You on national TV all this stuff, man. Stop gassing these people up, man.
You have your moments.
Man, I'll be in a situation where, since you said Trigger, you trying to talk, right? We talking now, y'all. We talking. So since you said that, I'm always the person that'll be like, man, you know what? I'll be back, man.
And I don't like that.
Why?
We should be able to talk about. It should never be that bad. Why you got to say you gone? Because where you going?
What I'm saying is this is the.
You got to talk to your homeboy. But with me, you got to.
See, now that's where you overplaying the conversation. Sometimes you want to get in the car and ride out of town and just get on the expressway.
Ride out of town.
Yeah, get on the expressway and clear my mind. Because the thing is, when you sometimes and y'all tell me if I'm right, because y'all watching. Sometimes you could be, and I want y'all feedback. Sometimes you could be in a situation especially when you're arguing or you having one of those spousal spats, and you just like, man, I want to go, because at that moment you feel like the walls closing in on you. I know sometimes I do. We don't argue. I'm not saying that we argue all the time, because we got a great thing here. But when you get into certain situations, certain conversations, it's just best to remove yourself for the moment.
You know what? I agree with that.
When
If
I'm
you
saying,
feel like you're gonna blow up and you're gonna say the wrong thing, go ahead. But it
because
should never be that bad. It should never be that bad, because we should have respect for one another to never go that far or take it.
And it ain't the fact that you don't have respect. You have enough respect to say, you know what, I'll be back. Then we come back. We come back.
But then when you come back, I don't want to talk, because you didn't want to talk, and I
because I'm trying to give space, especially when if you got two people riding down the road and both of y'all got y'all headlights on, the high beams, it's bound to be a crash.
Mm-hmm. So next question, you could ask me that question.
Oh, would you get married again?
I would get married again. I'm hoping to get married again. But with growth, understanding, and clarity. Like, we both need to be able to respect one another, be consistent, be each other's peace, be clear to one another. Know when I'm having a bad day or when you're having a bad day, and how to fulfill that void.
Right. I think, and this don't go with that question. When you learn your person, mm-hmm. who they are, the characteristics that they possess, their personality traits, then it's better to understand why a person responds the way they respond. That's really what intimacy is all about. Intimacy. When you're into a person, you should be able to see that person and understand that person. And so, with that being said, many people deal with things differently. You have two people coming from two different worlds, two different backgrounds, right, and trying to make a union out of everything that they've experienced, hoping that they can both better each other,
grow together,
and ultimately win in life,
build together.
You know what I'm saying? So marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a work of art.
I think so.
That is evolving over the course of time.
Of course.
But you got to be in it for the picture to manifest the way that God intended it to.
I agree.
All perfect pictures start off with splashes of paint. They don't look like nothing, and sometime before it becomes beautiful, it looks like a mess. But you got to be in it so that the process can be what it's supposed to be.
I agree. And we can end on that note. Guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you for joining Dream Talk Topics tonight with Mercutio and Jody. We will see you next week, hopefully. I know we was missing for about 3 weeks. There was so much going on, but we're back. If you don't see us, we'll try to come back the week after and try to be more consistent. Anything else you want to say?
No, just shout out to them boys, man, that's locked up. Always rep y'all guys, man. Joe Hartman, Lewis Andrew, what's up, big boy? Nicolo Chapman, you know, all the guys, man. I don't want to be back in there with y'all, but I do miss, fellowshipping with a lot of y'all, and y'all do call, because it's a shortage of being real out here, and I don't mean real in the sense of how most people use the definition of being real, but just being your authentic self. And I know y'all guys when to get ready to get released out of there. God finna bless y'all guys to come home. Man, when you come home and do it right, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna trip up, but don't allow that to keep you down. I just wish y'all brothers the best. Keep God first.
That's right.
A lot of beautiful women out here waiting on good, solid men to come home. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, there's a lot of good, solid men that are incarcerated. They're just waiting for another opportunity to do it right, man. A lot of us have a lot more time ahead of us than we do behind us. So, man, I'm always rep you guys, man. You got other brothers out here that's winning. They working. They ain't in the street. They got good relationships. it's out here, man. Life worth living, man. So don't let people that come back go to saying, "Oh, being free is overrated." That's the biggest lie from the enemy that you ever have. Man, your freedom is priceless. When God created you, He didn't create you to be incarcerated. He created you with a sense of freedom. So until next time, man, y'all boys keep y'all head up and just keep it 100, man.
All right, guys. You guys have a great night. Have a great weekend. And we love you guys. Bye.